Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Dugout podcast. I'm delighted to be joined today by my two co-hosts, Laurie Finlayson and Ethan Barlow. First of all, how you doing, Laurie?
I'm good, just delighted I can at least make it on to the second episode. I did hear that
Mhm.
you did introduce me in the first one, but I'm glad to now have finally made it off substitutes bench.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Ethan, how are you getting on after the weekend there?
I'm doing fabulous, mate. How are you?
Uh, I've been better. I've been better. Um, so if we could just jump into the elephant in the room. Celtic defeated Rangers 1-0 in the Scottish Cup final. Adam Ida with the 90th minute winner. First of all, Laurie, I just want to get your thoughts on the game from a neutral standpoint, being a Kilmarnock fan.
Yeah, so what we'll say, and I don't even know if it is particularly neutral exclusive, but the game was horrendous. I don't know how it was for both of you guys with a vested interest in it, but I mean, I think I ended up watching the wrong game. I should really have
Hmm.
switched the channel over to STV and watched the FA Cup final instead. I mean, it was not a great watch. Very much a game of chess with two teams who were terrified of losing more than
Yeah,
anything for Celtic at the moment of quality in the end, literally right at the end from a man who many Celtic fans saw as a panic signing come January.
yeah. I thought he was a panic signing as well. But he's come good in the end, and that's what you said there. I thought was perfect the way it summed up. Two teams sort of afraid to lose. I feel like both teams were decent on the ball, but they didn't really create anything clear cut. It was quite a boring game, I'd say, if you were just watching it. But
Yeah.
um, for the fans of the two teams, it's always nervy. Ethan, what did you think of the match?
Yeah, I thought it was quality wise, it was pretty poor. There wasn't really much chances for either team. I think the one main chance came Celtic's way, and Ida took it. Lucky enough for Celtic. I think it followed the same pattern that a lot of the games have followed recently, where Celtic maybe had the slight edge in the first half, and then the second half Rangers have come into it. I've noticed that's been a bit of a
Yep.
pattern. And watching, I thought Rangers were probably going to go on to win the game, especially after the goal, which with a foul that we'll get onto, I'm sure about. Yeah, but Adam Ida, a massive goal, and if Celtic weren't inclined to sign him, I'm sure they are. Same with Paulo Bernardo. He also great contribution off the bench.
Yeah.
Ate the goal. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I thought you mentioned patterns there, and I thought it's fallen into sort of the pattern of the season and even the past few years where Celtic rise to the occasion in the big moments, and Rangers don't seem to have that edge. They don't because poor game, looks like it's going to extra time. Shot from distance from Bernardo, and Adam Ida's in there to put it away, and then that Celtic won the Scottish Cup, and it was really disappointing. But you, I couldn't really complain if you know what I mean because we weren't like much better, but it was just a gut punch, and yeah, a lot of talking points during the game. Referee's been called into question for a few decisions. The Rangers will just get on to the Rangers disallowed goal. Personally, I think goalkeepers are overprotected, but that was a foul, and I think it was the correct decision in the end. Laurie, what did you think?
I'll be honest, at the time, I wasn't convinced it was the right decision because it goes back to what you say about goalkeepers being overprotected. It feels like, anything anyone near a goalkeeper feels like a foul, but
Yeah.
Nico Raskan does have his two hands on Joe Hart, to be fair. Um, it's one of those ones you feel like you see that and you see pushing generally, at basically every corner, any game of football, really. It's
Hmm.
if it wasn't the goalkeeper, would the referee have bothered? But I mean, really, well, it was a foul, and it probably should be a foul by letter of the law, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. Ethan, what are
Yeah, I
your
think I
thoughts?
think the referees although by the end of it, there was, I think, 11 yellow cards, was it? Or maybe a bit more than that,
Yeah, there was
Andy
quite a
Dowd.
few.
That sounds
Some
right, yeah.
were unnecessary and maybe didn't need to be yellow cards.
I
Greg
will get on to
Taylor's
the
this
unnecessary ones.
the Cantwell on the floor comes to mind, but I think they got the big decisions right. I think the handball in the first half, this season, it's maybe been given as a handball, but if they can keep keep consistent, the stuff like that doesn't get given, then I'm happy to see that. And I think it is a push on Hart, and maybe it is soft, but it does shove him in the back, and it's the goalkeeper, as you said, protected. And and even at the end, they had there was quite a long check for Diamande red card, which I thought would have been a bit unnecessary.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I thought, yeah, they were the talking points. But I think there were a decision on either side that could have, on another day, maybe been let go. And
Yeah.
both of them, I think they got the right decision.
I just want to go on to something. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining we got beat on the day. That's that. I don't think this could have affected the game in any way, but it just comes back to the standard of refereeing in the country. There was a tackle on Dujon Sterling where he's running for a ball over the top and he just gets crunched between, I think it's Liam Scales and Greg Taylor, and nothing given at all. And it's
Yeah,
anywhere other than Scotland, that's a foul. That's a guaranteed foul, maybe even a booking. And to add insult to injury, I think Sterling got booked for a perfectly good slide challenge earlier on in the game, or just after that, or something. So I don't know. I know this sounds like I'm moaning, but it's just the refereeing standards. I think are so poor.
So you make a valid point, mate. It's not moon, it's not sour grapes. The referees are awful, and it's not a go at Nick Walsh as an individual. You know, referees across the board are horrendous. Like, excuse me here, if any referees are somehow listening, I can't think of a decent Scottish football referee. And just think, Willie Collum has just been appointed the new head of refereeing at the SFA. And
Hmm.
it's not like he's the gold standard refereeing, is it?
No, definitely not. Um, I think the only good one is now giving his opinions on Instagram and Twitter, and Bobby Madden after his unsuccessful
Yeah.
stint in England. But he
But
was
that's
good.
it. Yes, he was the best by a country mile. If you were to think of a decent Scottish ref, I was gutted that it didn't work for him down south actually.
Yeah, I was actually having a conversation. I was at a friend's house, and their uncle was actually a linesman in the
Mhm.
SPFL. I won't name him, but he was. We were talking about the refs, and he was going. We were talking about who thinks he's the best, and I asked him about Bobby Madden, and he goes, and he said Bobby Madden's the best referee in this country by an absolute mile. He's so good, and he makes high pressure decisions, and he gets a lot of them right. And that was before VAR came in and all that, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd be interested in coming back, but uh, I would probably want him to be back in the league and help raise the standard.
Yeah, if he was, you know, if he feels physically fit enough, say, to come back, or even if he was, you know, one of these guys who would permanently sit in the bar room like Greg Aitken does now, you know, even that
Yeah,
would be an improvement, probably.
definitely.
yeah,
Uh,
that probably this segment of us talking about referees probably shows the quality of the game and how the game
yeah,
actually went.
Yeah.
Um,
agreed.
really not much to talk about and really narrow margins. But at the end of the day, that's what it is in a cup final. It doesn't matter what the score is, and no one will remember this game as being a classic. But at the end of the day, he does goal will be remembered.
Hmm.
And
Definitely.
now, um, no, I don't know if any of you have seen this stat, but just it's Clement, Michael Beale had a better win rate with the same amount of games. So what
Oh,
do you think of that, Alex?
That I think that's a tale of stats don't tell the whole story. Um, I think Clermont came into a worse situation than Michael Beale did. I think the injuries crisis has been worse. Um, yeah, I'm not saying he's been perfect, but he's just got something about him, and you can see what he wants to do. And even with you can see the transfer strategy changing, and it looks sensible. It looks like a modern model, and I don't think it's time to question him yet. If we get into next season and he maybe doesn't win the first couple of firm games and he starts to look a bit shaky and like we're dropping stupid points, maybe you start to question him. But right now, I think that would be silly. Um, I think he's better than Michael Beale. Um, he's got a higher trophy count than Michael Beale. So, yeah, I, I don't I don't think it's a fair comparison either. They're totally different, and I think he's here to stay. And to be honest, I think he will be successful at Rangers if given the proper players and time.
And what did you think of the team yesterday? Because you had on the preview we done on Saturday, on Friday, sorry, you had a slightly different midfield. So do you
Yeah,
think he got that right, or would you have tweaked it?
um, don't know. When I saw the team, I was happy with it. Um, I finished work at 3, so I was rushing to watch the start of the game. But I saw the team and I was like, okay, that's decent. I think he got it right in the end up. The only changes I would have made would be like not having Silva, which you couldn't have because of injury. Although I thought he was okay. Um, yeah, I thought it was the right decision in the end. Dujon Sterling off the right, he's just brilliant anywhere, and you guys know it. I sing his praises when we're like in class or whatever, or if we're just having a conversation. He's he'll give you a 7, 8 out of 10 in any position. And although I wanted him in the midfield, um, I thought he was good off the right as well. I don't think Clement did much wrong the other day, and I don't think the players did much wrong, but they didn't do much right either. If you get what I'm saying, they didn't go that extra mile, and in the end, it was a bit of luck and that winning knack from Celtic to get it over the line.
Um, Posing a bit of a question to both of you. Who do you think were the standouts, if you could say any for both of you, for both teams?
Okay.
That's tough.
No, that's a tough one.
um, I don't know, Laura, you get any ideas? Because I might need to
Uh,
think for a little bit.
well, we probably both need to think, but I'll try and go. So is it is it honestly bad giving it to Adam Ida based on 45 minutes? I mean, but that's honestly where we're going. Like so we've got him on 45 minutes. Well, I still feel like this might be controversial. I still feel like Jack Buckland did relatively well. You could debate with the goal being bad goalkeeping, maybe. I don't really think it was, personally. But
No,
probably anything that either goalkeeper had to do, they actually did. All right, albeit they weren't really tested all that much. Um, I'm now trying to think of any other standouts. Not really. To be fair, if you can think of anyone, Alex, feel free.
no, I can't really think of anyone that really jumps out at me. I'd probably say Ida as well, but uh, he's just been so big in so many big moments this season. Um, I'm not sure. Nobody really jumps. James Forrest wasn't great. He gets subbed for Nicholas Kuhn. Maybe Bernardo, but that's another guy. Just because he was directly involved with the goal.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe I'll go back. I thought Dujon Sterling was decent. good defensive work from him. Do you know who I thought was actually okay? Maybe it's it's a bit weird because you don't really think about that, a player like him, but I thought Ben Davies had a decent game. He put in some big blocks, intercepted some crosses. Although I think he was static for the goal. And the goal was just one of the ones where you could blame the keeper, you could blame the defenders, but Ida was just quicker off the mark than everyone else. So yeah, those are
Yeah,
my standouts.
yeah. I think for the goal, I think Butland maybe anticipates that Bernardo's maybe going to put it further in that side, and that's why he kind of catches him in the midriff, and then it falls for Ida. I didn't have many standouts, but I thought Starling was probably Rangers' best player, and I thought the only reason he came off because he'd ran himself into the ground pretty much.
Yeah,
Um, and for Celtic, I thought Carter Vickers, he didn't put a foot wrong the whole game. I thought he was brilliant.
that's
Was
just
that
become
one?
normal for Carter Vickers now, though. People
Yeah,
don't really recognise it. They're just like, oh, it's a Carter
Yeah,
Vickers performance.
that's just what he
yeah,
does.
yeah. It was that one where it was a cross, and he somehow didn't put it in his own goal, but managed to clear it. And I thought Johnston was really good as well. But apart from that, not really much. I thought Diamande. There was some moments where Diamande was really got a bit of control in the game in the second half, but then again he kind of faded away.
Yeah,
Um, and I thought there was a few moments where Balogun was covered Tavernier pretty well.
hmm
But apart from that, there was not much quality
mm,
at all. It was just the defending was better than the attacking play, which wouldn't have been difficult.
yeah.
Um,
Aye. On your point about Diamande there, I think he has shown moments of quality, but I think he needs to get a bit more consistent in the bigger games. Um, Maybe put on a bit of muscle because sometimes it seems like he's maybe shoved off a bit too easily. And I think an issue sometimes, especially I've seen in the Celtic games, he needs to adjust to the speed of the play a bit more. But other than that, I think he will be a really good player for Rangers. And coming in at 4.5 million, I think we'll make a profit on him down the line. Um, but with that Scottish Cup victory, that's I believe that's Celtic tied the Rangers trophy haul now.
yeah,
Uh, no longer the
indeed.
most successful team in Scotland. Um, Joint now, and yeah, the next coming seasons will be really big. Because could you imagine the bragging rights? Whoever pulls ahead,
Yeah,
Yeah. So
uh,
basically, Alex, Rangers need to win next year's League Cup to put down a marker. If that's your first trophy, then
definitely,
I suppose retain the League Cup, I guess.
yeah, definitely. Um, but I think that about wraps up. If you guys want to add anything, but that's all I wanted to
no,
cover for the final.
No, I think
Um,
that's all good after the, well, arguably worst Scottish Cup final in living memory. So maybe best to
yeah.
move on. From a
I think
spectator point of view, not necessarily result, because if you're a Celtic fan, you're still delighted.
mhm.
yeah, I think the FA Cup was a lot more probably exciting, although we didn't get to watch it. It seemed like it was the
Yeah,
underdogs, Man United,
yeah. I think
winning.
Man United sending Chelsea into the old conference, and Newcastle fans. I saw a video of them. It was last week singing about Europe again, and now that's no Europe this season. I just found that quite funny.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, on a quick side note, that will help Newcastle. If anything, I think not having that distraction, especially with all the injuries they've had this year. So Newcastle could go on to have a good season next year, but that's on a bit of a side note.
Mhm.
Yeah, but a negative for Newcastle, does that maybe lure Isak and Bruno Gomares elsewhere? There's been rumours about them maybe leaving Arsenal, sniffing around. So if they've not got European football, then
Yeah.
the big players might want to go elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't really see them being anywhere else, if you know what I mean. I don't see where they'd fit anywhere else. Like you'd say Arsenal need a striker, but I don't think they do need a striker. I just
No,
think
not
I
really.
think Arsenal are an excellent team. But we've over the past 4 years we've witnessed probably the greatest team in Premier League history. So it's it's an interesting one.
And
Some of the other yeah. What are you gonna say, Ethan?
no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was gonna move on to the other games of the weekend. But do you want to add something about the Arsenal?
I was just going to ask you what your opinions on Ten Hag are now, if they've changed, or whether
No,
you think
he needs to
it's
go.
you think he
I
needs to
think
go. So
I think he needs to go definitely.
I
He's
think
yeah.
I think it's best if he goes. I mean, like because finishing eighth at Man United is not acceptable. I mean, like I don't know the worst finish since I want to say 1990. I mean,
yeah,
put it this way: David Moyes was doing better, and he only lasted what 6, 7 months.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're right.
Um, I don't I don't know if I can even blame the managers at this point though. It just seems like it's a Man United is a poison chalice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
If you drink from it, you lose all your you become your team becomes poor. You become a poor manager. You're branded with that. I don't think
yeah.
that's the case for a lot of like people, and it always goes back to Jose Mourinho saying his greatest ever achievement in football was finishing second with Man United, and every season that seems more and more valid. That statement,
Totally.
but
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I was just going to say that whoever does go to Man United, though, they have got some great players to build a team around, like Menu and Garnacho. But in the other finals, Laurie, you had a slight connection in Germany, a strange connection to the
Yeah.
final in Germany.
Yes, very much. So, of course, the DFB Pokal final, which was Kaiserslautern against Bayer Leverkusen, who were, of course, finally beaten during the week for the in the Europa Conference League final.
that
But
was Europa League.
yeah, Europa League. Sorry,
That
it
was
wasn't the
mental.
Conference. It was mental. I don't know what I said. Constantly, no disrespect to any Leverkusen fans, but the little connection that you refer to, Ethan. So Kilmarnock and Kaiserslautern have a little bit of an affinity, stretching back to when the teams met in Europe. I want to say it was in the early 2000s, somewhere, and the two teams have kind of followed each other since. If you go to Rugby Park, there are like there's the odd Kaiserslautern sticker that you see about the place, stuck up by some ultras, or even yesterday at the cup final, there was actually a big Kilmarnock flag. I'll get some photos of that online maybe, so we can see that. And and there was a pub in Kilmarnock actually had it all like decked out in Kaiserslautern colours, and even the Kelly media team were in on this and
Hmm.
at this pub stroke bar, and they were all watching the game, and it's one of these every club has its weird kind of connections and affiliates. I'm trying to think if the old firm have any in particular. I mean, you
Hamburg,
could Hamburg,
Yeah,
there's
Hamburg
one.
and St. Pauli and Germany as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
two rivals.
yeah.
Are I've got, I'm going to ask you a really ignorant question here, particularly you, Ethan. Are Celtic linked to any German clubs?
Yes,
I
yes,
Especially,
St. Pauli.
I think you are St. Pauli, aren't you?
Yeah, they got promoted this season.
Yeah, so we've all got our German teams. But
Uh,
yeah,
for what it's worth, Kaiserslautern, who were kind of mid-table in the German second tier, lost 1-0 to Leverkusen, which, let's face it, isn't all that bad.
no,
yeah,
definitely not.
I was
Here's
just
the
gonna.
oh sorry.
No, that's fine. I was going to ask you there. It's the question that's floating around. What is a better achievement, Arsenal's invincible season or Leverkusen's domestic invincible season with the Europa League final loss?
I think if they'd won the Europa League, it would have been then. But I think Arsenal's invincible season, personally.
I disagree.
I'm going to say, just thinking about it now, I, I think it's Leverkusen. When you were saying as much as they've lost the Europa final, I will now correct myself. As much as they've lost that, I mean, Arsenal lost in Europe as well in the invincible season. Plus, there was probably a bit more, no disrespect to Leverkusen here, but there was probably a little bit more expectation on Arsenal back then. Whereas
Yeah,
was anyone expecting, well, maybe not necessarily Leverkusen, but was anyone expecting Bayern not to win the league this year, especially when they signed Harry Kane?
no.
No.
Harry Kane.
Although saying that, yeah, Harry
He's
Kane
cursed.
maybe he's
He's
cursed a wee
so
bit.
cursed.
Don't say that too soon for our Scotland fans going to the Euros.
Now we'll never win a trophy. Oh, it's just funny. I feel sad for him as well, but it's so, and the fact that they finished third is mental. Finished behind Stuttgart. Um,
It's embarrassing if you're Bayern. I mean, I'm sure Stuttgart have got a failed Brighton striker up front. Is Dennis Undav still there? On loan from Brighton,
yeah,
and those are
although he's been quite good this season. I think he's got like 18 goals or something. And they've also got
fair play.
Seru Girassi, who I think at one point he was averaging more than a goal a game. I'm not quite sure what he finished on. I can just pull it up now.
He finished with a goal a game, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
One goal a game, yeah. Pretty
Yeah,
ridiculous.
but while I'm just looking at that there was other games this weekend. A couple of playoff finals. Do you want to talk about the Scottish one first? Ross County Raith Rovers.
Yeah. Laurie, you want to
Mhm.
kick it off?
Okay, so I mean, it was going into it. Obviously, the second leg was today's we record this. We're recording on Sunday. Of course, the first leg took place Thursday night. And I mean, we all know what happened. Not narrow victory for Ross County, and it kind of Ross County probably felt they could have got further ahead on that night, albeit they they made they made no mistake at all this afternoon and lunchtime at Dingwall. As we're talking about German football a minute ago, as much as the Raith Rovers fans tried to imitate the yellow wall badly, um, they were Raith Rovers didn't play as bad the scoreline suggests, but ended up losing 4-0 and then ultimately 6-1 on aggregate, which
Yeah.
meant that Ross County secured the survival pretty comfortably at the end of the day, which I was actually surprised by that to an extent.
Just to jump in there, Undav did finish on 18 goals, and Garassi was the second top scorer in the Bundesliga with 28, and that was a
Right.
goal a game for him. So they've been decent this season.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I was just going to say on the Ross County game there, um, I thought I didn't think Ross County were bad enough to lose in the playoff. I know Livy came last, and I think everyone knew Livy were going to come last for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I think the quality difference between Ross County and St Johnstone they were battling on the final day in Livy was quite a different a distance between them. And I thought whatever team St Johnstone or Ross County would have enough against Raith, despite Raith going close with Dundee United for the majority of the season. Dundee United have got some good players, but Ross County, I think it will be difficult for them next season because they've obviously Jan Danders already away at Hearts and Simon Murray. I think he's got 9 goals in his last 11 games, so
Yeah.
there'll be teams sniffing around for him, potentially in Scotland, because
Mhm. Like,
that's a great strike rate.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. So, I mean,
Um,
I'm not saying we vitally need him, but I wouldn't mind Simon Murray at Kilmarnock. I'll say that now. I wouldn't mind him at all.
Yeah, even a team like Hearts, if Shanklin goes, he goes to Rangers or he goes elsewhere, then they might pester Ross County again.
Yeah, definitely. Simon Murray's been really good this season. I think he's a thorn in the side of every team he's up against, especially Rangers. And yeah, I agree with that point you made about you thought County were too good. I thought that as well. Although the romanticism of the Wraith Rovers season maybe swept me up a little bit. I had a little bit of hope. Although I wouldn't want another plastic pitch, so I was a bit conflicted with them coming up. But after seeing that result today, yeah, they really showed the difference in quality. And I think that brings us to a wider point of the difference in quality between the Championship and the Premiership is quite big right now. Um, although teams can run Premiership teams close and like maybe one-off games, I think throughout a season, the difference is quite big. And yeah, I don't know what would need to be done to bring them closer, but I think that's where we are right now in Scotland.
Yeah, I'd certainly agree with that. I think next season I don't see any chance at all at Livingston coming back up because I just think they're doing a avalanche. Really,
Yeah,
they could. This might be a bold take, and I might just look daft saying this, but I think Livy could even be down the bottom half going towards relegation again.
end up like Hamilton.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they could be
possibly.
Hamilton or
Um,
Partick Thistle, like 4 or 5 years ago when they first, left the Premiership and went down, where it looked as if they were kind of flirting with League One for a bit, then they eventually went there. I mean,
Yeah,
I kind of this might sound daft. I kind of hope for Livy's sake that doesn't happen, but like I can kind of see it where they will be a bit like Partick or even Aki, as you say. They're on a
yeah.
bit of a slippery slope.
what do you think for Rafe's chances next year? Do you think it's a bit like Arbroath with Kelly, just a one season flash in the pan, or do
I
you think
don't
they can
think
go
they'll
again?
they'll. I think they're a better side than Arbroath were. Um, I don't think they'll drop off as drastically. I think they'll still be in the playoff conversation, but I don't think they'll be up there fighting for the title again.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we outside shout for playoffs. Hamilton Accies.
I think
Come on.
definitely.
Nah, for anyone confused, Accies is like my second team. They're quite easy for me to go and watch them. So, and when I was under 18, I had a free season ticket there. But yeah, it's I think it's going to be interesting next season. Moving swiftly on to England, the playoff final happened today, and joining the teams already promoted in Leicester and Ipswich will be Southampton, who defeated Leeds 1-0 today at Wembley. It's an interesting one. I really thought Leeds would be going up this season, and
Yeah, so did I.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, just surprising, very surprising.
Yeah, and the thing is, Leeds and Southampton are two teams that obviously would have wanted the automatic spots, I'm sure. But of course, well, Leicester were obviously stiff competition and obviously got the got the title in the end. But like Leeds and Southampton have both been guilty of, inconsistency throughout the season. Of course, I don't want to take away from the Southampton's achievement of getting back up and winning what is seen as the most expensive game in football, blah blah blah. But
Mhm.
you know, their teams that would have wanted, that kind of automatic spot and had a bit more consistency in the season. I mean, just look at Ipswich. Nobody expected the back-to-back promotions from them. Got to give them a little bit of credit for being able to fend off the likes of Leeds and Southampton because I'd be willing to guess that Ipswich with one of the smaller budgets in that championship, or at the very least like in a mid-table budget, have
Definitely.
ended up getting automatic promotion. So fair play to them and Kieran McKenna, who's now been linked with a bunch of Premier League jobs.
I hope he stays there and rides it out, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, oh, Ethan,
I
sorry.
was just going to say, getting on to our next point, got to congratulate some of our Scots. Shea Adams Stuart Armstrong, Ryan Fraser, and of course, Martin, the manager, on
Yeah.
Scott on the promotion.
Yeah, that will move us on to the next segment where we will be talking about the Scotland squad and the upcoming Euros and having a look at the squads in the group and trying to see how we think it will play out. Okay, so on to the Scotland squad. I think it was a few days ago the provisional squad for the Euros was announced. I'll just read that out quickly there. The goalkeepers, Xander Clark, Craig Gordon, Angus Gunn, Liam Kelly. On the defenders, Liam Cooper, Grant Hanley, Jack Hendry, Ross McCrory, Scott McKenna, Ryan Porteous, Anthony Ralston, Andy Robertson, John Suter, Greg Taylor, and Kieran Tierney. Midfield, Stuart Armstrong, Ryan Christie, Billy Gilmore, Ryan Jack, John McGinn, Cal McGregor, Kenny McLean, Scott McTominay, and then the attackers, Che Adams, Ben Doak, Lyndon Dykes, James Forrest, and Lawrence Shankland. So obviously that's the 28-man provisional squad. Two of them are going to have to go. But lads, I'll come to you first, Laurie. I just want to get your initial thoughts on that squad.
I think it's quite strong on the whole. There's a couple of obviously picks that we can maybe debate over, but of course, as you say, two of them are going to be cut, and chances are it's going to be a goalkeeper, or at least one going to be a goalkeeper. But the actual squad itself is pretty strong. Obviously, there's a couple of people, particularly in the right back area, who we'd rather were there. But injuries happen. There's nothing we can do about it. But generally speaking, it's not a bad squad.
Yep, Ethan.
Yeah, when I first seen it, I've got to be honest, I thought it was a bit bland, a bit boring. But now I'm looking elsewhere. I just thought that we had a better plethora of players, but the
Yeah,
injuries we are kind of short. I just thought I could have went with more maybe attack minded players, but he has got quite a lot. So to be fair, it's just that there's a few centre backs I feel like are necessary, but I'm sure we'll get on to that.
yeah. Well, that's his. Well, a lot of the squad is Clark said bread and butter. I'd say what he's the ones he trusts. Um, Obviously, two players will have to go. If we just get onto that, we look at the players. I think the two. There's a lot of maybe injury prone ones that could go. I think first and foremost, one of the goalkeepers have to go because I think bringing four goalkeepers to an international tournament that might not last more than like 2 weeks for you, 2 or 3 weeks for your own country if you don't make it out of the groups. I think that would be silly. But using up 4 slots for a goalkeeper. So I think one of them are going to go, and I think it'll be Craig Gordon. Obviously, a lot of good years for Scotland, a lot of good years for Celtic and Hearts. Uh, when he left Celtic, went to Hearts, a lot of people thought he was finished. Showed he wasn't. Got back into the Scotland squad. Showed he was still probably the best keeper we had, other than Alan McGregor. But McGregor had retired from international football. And yeah, but now after that horrible injury, I think it was a double leg break. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, that's
Yeah, I think
right.
that's it.
Yeah, and he comes back, and in the games he's played, I don't think he's looked particularly great. I watched him against Greenock Morton. He looked a bit off it. So I think he'd be the one to go because I think Angus Gunn has earned the number one spot. Xander Clark, been the number one for Hearts this season. He's been very good. Liam Kelly's maybe one you could debate, but I don't know. I just bringing Gordon just to be like third choice would be a bit. I just don't think would be good at all.
Yeah,
And maybe you could argue the experience angle for him, but I just don't think we should bring him.
I'm going to say about the experience. He has experience at what was he injured for the last tournament, or was he there as a backup?
he was there as well, effectively David Marshall's number two, but
Yeah,
didn't
I
didn't
thought
play.
so, but
That's
he
so
brings
ludicrous to
experience.
me now.
He
David
brings
Marshall's number
experience.
two. Sorry.
He brings
I
experience
know, I know.
um, from one tournament in which we done nothing, and he doesn't bring a winning experience, or he doesn't have much more experience at tournaments than any of the other players there. So,
Mhm.
and if he's not playing, all the other goalkeepers at least start for their clubs. Um, Liam Kelly, yeah, he's not going to get anywhere near the team though. Realistically, Xander Clark will step in if Angus Gunn was to pick up an injury. But yeah, I think Gordon has to get dropped there. That's an obvious one. I think the other one's up for debate, but that's pretty set in stone, I would say.
Yeah. Laura, you get any thoughts on that in the goalkeeping situation?
I mean, the goalkeeping situation is a tough one because I'm one of these people who actually maybe would vouch for Craig Gordon for the experience, but I mean, Ethan, you make a valid point that really he maybe does have more experience in football terms than many of the people in that squad, but in reality, he's he's been at a tournament and sat on the bench, and that's not.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, no Scotsman really has that experience, really, Euro 2020 aside, currently playing, but the experience isn't really that valuable when you think about it. Obviously, Liam Kelly, as you say, has got no chance of really, playing at the tournament, and at the moment doesn't have a club. Yes, there's rumours of, of both sides of the Old Firm. I reckon Rangers being more likely, obviously, but as things stand, doesn't have a club, having been released by Motherwell, but it's it's hard. Because there's a valid argument for both Gordon or Kelly to still be that third choice keeper. I get the feeling that Clark will go Gordon for the experience, but then is it pointless because he's just going to sit there? Whereas William Kelly, yes, he's just going to sit there, but he's young enough that you never know he might get capped for Scotland.
Hmm.
And I think he's a bit younger than Xander Clark, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I thought Kelly and Clark were maybe around the same age. Um, I'm not sure. He might be a tad younger than him. I get what you're saying. I actually think Clark will end up bringing Craig Gordon. Um, just because he's one of the favourites. Clark shows loyalty to
Yeah.
the players he's chosen in the past. But yeah, see, at the end of the day, though, I wouldn't I wouldn't be upset if Liam Kelly was dropped and Craig Gordon was. I just think if you brought four goalkeepers, then I'd be upset.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I
but
don't actually know. I don't actually know if you can bring four goalkeepers. I know you need to have three, but I don't know if they even let you bring four. They might do. I don't know. And as for their ages, Liam Kelly is 28 and Xander Clark is 31, and he'll turn 32 before the end of June. So
he's older than I thought he was.
yeah, so
Yeah,
that's the one argument that's probably in Liam Kelly's favour of yes, goalkeepers do develop that a little bit later, but I mean, there's probably going to come a point unless a brilliant goalkeeper is coming up through the ranks that we don't know about. There's probably going to come a point where Liam Kelly will be at least Scotland number two. That sounds a bit scary to me at the minute, but
Yeah, maybe. But you never know what's going to happen in the future. Who will come through the ranks? And now on to the other player that should be dropped. Maybe this is where the opinions differ. Because we need to choose from the whole squad. I think it should be Ben Doak who shouldn't go. I just think, I don't know, I just think just bringing him just to sit on the bench and just watch, I don't think that's worth a spot just for the experience for him. I get he's the future and he should, but he's at Liverpool and I don't know. He's learning this season. I know he's been injured a lot of the time, but he's spent this season learning at the feet of Mohamed Salah and obviously Jurgen Klopp, one of the greatest managers we've ever seen. and he'll continue to be at Liverpool and learn from great players. And Arne Slot is a good manager, and I just don't think bringing him to sit on the bench for 3 games would bring value to the squad. That's my opinion on it.
My point to that, my counterpoint to that would be: would you rather have an attacking player that can bring something a bit different sit on the bench, or a defensive midfielder who's played? Let me see, where was it? I had the start. It's Ryan Jack. He's played 188 minutes in the last 6 months, Ryan Jack. And you're going to bring him over Ben Doak.
Yeah, I'd bring Ryan Jack over Mendo.
But I just don't see Ryan Jack getting any minutes at all. And
I
that's
don't
why
see
I had.
Mendo getting any minutes.
He
You've got
might.
you've got Adams, Dykes, and Shankland and James Forrest, and James Forrest obviously won't be deployed as a winger, so I don't think Ben Doak would get any minutes either. I can see the Ryan Jack point definitely. Barely played, but
And to
he's
that
a
list,
oh
oh,
sorry.
sorry, to that list of attackers, you could probably even add Ryan Christie as well.
Yeah, definitely. But back to my Ryan Jack point, he's a proven entity. Um, he's good. He's a good on the ball midfielder. He's good at breaking up play. He's strong in the tackle. It's a big if, but if he's fit for the tournament, he can add something, and he's proven to be able to add something. And I hope Ben Doak becomes a brilliant player and smashes in 30 goals a season and is our next big attacking player. But I just don't think bringing him would benefit him or the squad.
Yeah,
Um,
don't on Ben Doak, I'm split on it because I can kind of see the merits for bringing him, although he's only 17 and whatever. But the bit that puts me off Ben Doak, similar to Ryan Jack, I guess, is the kind of doubts over his fitness. Because
mhm.
I mean, I like personally was crying out for Steve Clark to at least bring a couple of players who are, natural wingers, and you'd argue he's done that with potentially Doak and James Forrest. I mean, from again my totally personal point of view, maybe somewhat biased towards Kilmarnock, I was kind of hoping that it was going to be Danny Armstrong. Excuse me, I have no idea what that noise was there, but I was hoping it was going to be Danny Armstrong, um, but it not to be. I mean, personally, this is on a little side note. I think Armstrong was probably better for the squad. And please tell me if I'm being a bit biased towards Kilmarnock here, because Armstrong spent a fair bit of our season playing at wing back. So I don't know maybe if that would be a bit more balanced for the squad, especially with the injuries to the likes of Patterson and Hickey in recent
Yeah,
times.
um, one thing to that is I can't see him putting a left-footed right wing back because although Hickey can play on either side, but he can play with either foot. Um, and I don't know. I don't think Danny Armstrong would fit the fullback role. I think he did have a real shout for the squad, and I think people would Kilmarnock fans and him himself would be justified to feel that maybe he should have been in there. Uh, I saw a point the other day. It was talking about how James Forrest got into the squad, the late revival of the season. He's been really good in this last few weeks, but someone said Danny Armstrong's been doing that all season. Um, but yeah, it's an interesting one, definitely on Danny
Yeah.
Armstrong.
And
Uh,
by the way, just for the avoidance of any doubt on Armstrong, I'm not saying he would go. The chance he'd been named in the 28 and cut still, but I feel like he would make more sense to have in the 28-man squad than what Ben Doak would.
yeah, yeah, I get that point definitely. Um, talking talking about who should go, who shouldn't go. Laurie, have you got anyone that you think should be the second man to miss the final selection?
Yeah, so I think in terms of the person to be cut, there's a couple of options. Let's stick to one. Obviously, we've 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 spoken to like at length about Doak. He's a potential option, but in terms of another one who I think, at least in my opinion, should maybe go. If it was me in charge, but I have a feeling Steve Clark wouldn't be super in favour of this one. Is get rid of get rid of one of the centre halves. I would personally say Liam Cooper, but I know there's been arguments for the others. I'd say Cooper
I
personally.
can get behind that as well. I don't think he's very good at all.
No.
Yeah. Here's just a wee fact about Cooper. Since March, he's played 71 minutes for Leeds and 90 minutes for Scotland. So
Yikes.
I
Yeah,
don't think we need somebody who's not getting in the Leeds team. That's not the kind of level that we're dropping to here, I don't think. For a player that when we've already got abundance of other centre halves who are all there or thereabouts. You probably couldn't, apart from Tierney, you could maybe even make a case for any of the other ones to start. I think alongside Tierney, they all
yeah,
have their positives and their negatives. Maybe Suter, he could even still drop out with him being an injury down, maybe. Um, but yeah, I think they all have their case to say they deserve to be starting.
yeah, definitely. We've spoken about so many players with injury issues. A lot of players are missing the tournament due to injury as well. It's been a real, like just a few months ago, we're really optimistic about this tournament. A good, strong squad. It's these injuries that have really come down hard on Scotland, and has maybe made us a bit less optimistic. Missing the likes of obviously Lewis Ferguson, who's had an excellent season. Captain in Bologna, I believe they finished fifth after the final games today, but they still get Champions League because Italy secured that fifth UCL spot. Um, and yeah, he's a big miss. Although I still don't think he wouldn't have started because our midfield is so strong. Um, he would have been a great addition to have maybe in place of a Ryan Jack. You know, someone who's guaranteed to be there and to be good. Uh, Nathan Patterson, obviously. The right back situation, I think Ethan, me and you were talking the other day. We were like, who? And I was like, who is the right back? And you went Anthony Ralston, and I was like, oh my god. No disrespect to
Yeah.
Anthony Ralston, he's a good player, but to have him as your only fullback going into a major tournament is a bit um, worrying. Sorry, not fullback, right back, but you know what I mean. Um,
Yeah.
and especially with the opposition we could be coming up against. Um, I think the injury issues really are a factor we should be scared of.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
Yeah.
I was going to say about Ralston. I think he's solid. He's a solid backup, but a solid backup is what he is. You don't really want to be
mhm,
taking him as the first choice that tournament. He's went up toe to toe with world class players before. I think we all remember that battle with Neymar when Neymar was playing for PSG.
mhm.
I think Neymar might have got the better of him that night. Um,
That's
He's not going to quite go up against Neymar, but there'll be maybe players like Florian Wirtz and Jamal Musiala operating on the wings for Germany, which is a scary
I
prospect.
think Musiala's out till the end of June, is he not?
Yeah, it could
Yeah,
be. I
I
think
think
he
so,
is
yeah.
out. So,
Let's hope.
Right, so
um, but I,
um,
if we're talking about the guys that you come up against, we just got the Hungary squad up here, managed by Marco Rossi. Um, can't he's he's been at Hungary since 2018. Before that, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. And then then Budapest Honved. for a while. And the squad they've selected, they've got some good players that we need to watch out for. Obviously, they've got Peter Galassi in goal. He's proven himself in Europe over the past few years. You look at the defenders, likes of Willie Orban, Attila Zalai, and Milos Kerkez. Good players, dangerous. Zalai, a good defender, a good solid centre half. And then they've got the midfield. They've got Andreas Schaefer, Andras Schaefer, obviously Union Berlin. They were. Oh, I looked at the table before this, but I can't. The Bundesliga table. I don't. Did they go down or did they just escape?
No, I think they just escaped on the
I
final
think they
day.
stayed up. I
And they
think they
scored a
stayed
last
up.
minute
Oh
penalty.
yeah, they
Oh,
just did it. They just escaped.
yeah, I
Um,
think so.
but aye, they've got.
Yeah, it's Bochum in the German playoff. Union Berlin did escape it on goal difference.
So they've got some good talent, Bundesliga talent. Marton Dardai played for Hertha. And then up top, Roland Salai of Freiburg. He's a good attacking player. I can't say I'm not going to claim to be an expert on the rest of their squad. Um,
He's not even mentioned the main man.
I was going to
oh
say, I
yeah,
was going to say,
yeah, Dominic Zoboslai.
yeah,
Forgot about him there. Been at Liverpool this season. Decent.
good thing you're not scouting for Scotland here.
I know, I know. I'm just looking at having a look at their strikers just now and looking at their stats. No one really stands out to me. Um, having scored a lot of goals. Um, a lot of them.
But
Oh, sorry.
maybe I know Scotland have a great player in Andy Robertson, of a Premier League and Champions League winner, one of the best Premier League fullbacks of all time. But going forward, we if we had a player like Sobsalai or just someone like that, he is
Just
such
Dominic, right?
he's I don't yeah the pronunciation's not correct, but
Aye.
I think it's Zaboslai.
such a pivotal player for them. And I was looking at their recent games and the amount of goals that he scored and assisted, and he's just like, if we
Yeah,
just had a player like that, that's what we need. And hopefully players like Ben Doak can maybe develop into something like that.
definitely. Um,
Yeah.
anything you want to mention on Hungary there, Laurie?
Yeah, so Hungary are the sort of team that we as Scotland should look at as some sort of model. Like, if you look at when Marco Rossi was appointed, I think it was 2018, they were like way down in the rankings and have really shot up over the last kind of 3 or 4 years. And I suppose it's kind of similar journey to what we've been on, if not maybe theirs is slightly quicker maybe. But the sort of country that we can look at as some sort of template perhaps. I kind of feel like with Hungary. Although I do kind of get the fear coming up against them in a few weeks' time because they're the sort of team, and no disrespect to any Scotland fans here, they're the sort of team that we as a nation would underestimate and go, oh, we can beat them.
Most
Oh, it's
definitely,
only
yeah.
it's only the one guy I've got. It's only that Liverpool player whose name we can't pronounce. We can beat
Aye.
them, and then they come and surprise us a bit like the Czech Republic, arguably at Euro 2020, albeit we did manage to beat them, you know, like afterwards and indeed before that. But I kind of see it in a similar vein to playing them. Everyone goes into it with a bit of confidence, perhaps false confidence, and I, I don't mean to sound like pessimistic there, but yeah, you know what I mean.
No, I totally understand what you're saying. And with the sort of rise of Hungary, I think it was I watched them against England, and I think that was when England went down to the B section of the Nations League. If I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, Hungary got promoted to the A section, um, and they were a really like cohesive unit. Like every one of them fighting for one another, and those are the teams I think you need to look out for. for a lot of
Mhm.
the time. Because obviously you have the big teams with the standouts, but see when like obviously they have a world class player in Szoboszlai, but if all the rest of them are working for each other and they have a good system in place, it can be really a dangerous thing. And like you said, Laurie, you can underestimate them. I'm sure Steve Clark and the players won't be underestimating them, but a few Scotland fans might be in for a nasty surprise. I think Hungary definitely are. I think they're the second. I know you might. I think you've disagreed with me on this before, but I think Hungary are the second most threatening team in the group. To me personally, other than Germany.
Yeah, I know and I still don't know where I stand on it completely. I know we've kind of debated between them and Switzerland before because Switzerland are the kind of seasoned kind of tournament pros. But then again, that goes back to what I was just saying about was I maybe underestimating Hungary slightly. This kind of proves the point.
Hmm.
Well,
Definitely.
we'll get to see. We're lucky. Hopefully, we can pull off a miracle against the hosts. Because although Germany have got good players and they've got some emerging talents like Watts, they've not done much under Nagelsmann. So they've
No.
not taken any major scalps in competitive matches. So we've not seen them at a tournament yet. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can trump them or at least get something out of the game to, or even a positive display to go into the next two, and we'll get to see watching the Switzerland Hungary game how that pans out and maybe what
Hmm.
team and what players we're looking out for.
I think Germany, although they haven't done much under Nagelsmann, they've come into some decent form recently, and all of their players individually seem to be performing quite well at their own respective clubs. So I don't know. I think it could really go either way against Germany. Um, before we get on to them, I just want to talk about Switzerland. Switzerland haven't put out their provisional squad yet. I don't think, but if we just want to run through some of the potential players, they've got two really good goalkeepers in Jan Sommer and Gregor Kobel. Obviously, the defenders, Fabian Schär, Kevin and Babu, former Rangers man.
Yeah.
Although I don't think he played a game for us. Um,
That
Ricardo,
looks terrible on Rangers' part now, doesn't it?
I don't know. He was part of like I think it was the Newcastle Five we got on loan
Yeah.
when we were still with like to Mike Ashley and that sort of thing. So uh, yeah, they've got Mbabu, Ricardo Rodriguez. Although he's not as good as he used to be, he's probably he's been at a few tournaments and he's an experienced head that they could look towards.
Yeah,
Nico Elvedi, Manuel Akanji, Premier League winner, uh, Cedric Zeziger. He was at Young Boys now at Wolfsburg playing in the Bundesliga. They've got a couple of Bundesliga players. Uh, I'm probably going to butcher a few of these pronunciations, but Omar Agic from Montpellier as well. Um, Leonidas Stergiou, Stuttgart. I believe he's on loan there from St. Gallen, I think. I'm not sure if I'm correct on that. Then you go into the midfield, Freuler, Bologna, Granit Xhaka, or Pokal, Bundesliga, played at Arsenal. Uh, Dennis Zakaria, um, although it says he's injured right now, but I don't know when he'll be back. It's, it's getting it's getting a bit tedious reading all these names, but there's so many.
And,
Uh,
and, and there's so many solid players as well who have done well around Europe. So
yeah, Ruben Vargas, he's a threatening player, definitely. And then you go to the attackers, Braylon Bolo, he's injured as well. although it says his return date's around May. And then you've got Noah Okafor at AC Milan, Andy Zakiri, I believe he's formerly of Brighton.
Right,
Um,
yeah.
he might be on loan. No, he's at Genk permanently. And then Dan and Doy, Zeki Amdouni from Burnley. So a lot of players that they've got that could really cause us real problems. And by no, like, if you weren't like clued up, you might look at that group and go, "Oh, Germany, maybe Switzerland are a threat, but we should come out in second." That's not the case at all. I think it's a three-way fight for second, most definitely.
And I'm not trying to sound like the boring, pessimistic one here, but if if we were to qualify in third place, I'm more than happy with that.
If
Yeah.
we qualified at all, I'll be buzzing.
Exactly.
It's the first
I mean,
Yeah.
first time
I think that'd
we've
be
ever
the
seen
first
that.
ever. First ever, a big bit of Scottish football history, corrects us if we can qualify. I don't really care how we qualify. Well, even if we don't qualify, you know what? As long as we give a good account of ourselves against solid European teams, because I tell you what, this will give us a good little insight as to how tough Scotland will find League A of the Nations League, which obviously starts in September, which I think will be pretty tough as well. Hopefully, that's for a future pod. But
Yeah.
these games will be a good indication of where we are in that. I mean, I've got a pretty solid guess, and I'm sure you do as well. But we'll
Mm.
see how it goes.
Hmm.
And we don't even need to win a game to go through. We could do what the Euro 2016 winners Portugal done. If we draw all three games, we could maybe sneak through in third place. But
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
think,
There, I think there's a difference between us and Portugal, though.
yeah, quite
Just
a
a
big one.
small difference. Yeah, to this guy, I think his name's Cristiano Ronaldo. I think he
yeah,
played for Portugal at that time, so I don't know.
um,
I've heard people say he's a good player, yeah.
um,
But
anyway, I was just gonna ask, what would be if you guys got a starting 11 in mind for the first game against Germany?
just, I think I do, but just before that, I'd like to maybe just run through the Germany squad if that's all right with you guys.
Yeah,
And then
Okay.
we can get into the meat and bones of the Scotland squad and how we think we should line up. All right, so just on to the Germany squad. Obviously, we all know about Germany, but there might be some unknown players that maybe people um, don't know about, unknown. So you've obviously got the goalkeepers. You've got Manuel Neuer, Oliver Baumann, Ter Stegen, and Nubel. All good goalkeepers. And on the defenders, you've got them big names like Schlotterbeck, Antonio Rudiger, Jonathan Tah, and then maybe this where it gets like maybe you don't know who's who. David Raum, he's maybe a bit more known, but then you've got Maximilian Mittelstadt, who plays for Stuttgart. He's 27 years old. Um, yeah, quite a good season with Stuttgart, 2 goals and 5 assists with them in 34 appearances. Before that, he'd been at Hertha Berlin for his whole career. I think he's been in the Germany squad before, but he's quite a good player, someone to watch out for. The midfielders, it's just stacked. It's so mental. Tony Kroos, obviously, I think his last footballing tournament. Uh,
yeah,
I think he announced his retirement a few days ago. Thomas Muller, Pascal Gross of Brighton, Ilkay Gundogan, Robert Andrich, Joshua Kimmich, Kai Havertz, Florian Wirtz, Jamal Musiala, and Alexander Pavlovich, young player from Bayern. Um, but that midfield is crazy, boys. Any thoughts on that?
I mean,
nah,
I'm just scared of it. I mean, for what it's worth,
Yeah.
I'm going to be in Munich in a few weeks when we're playing that lot, and that's kind of giving me the fear, to be honest.
You two are going. I'm jealous. Um,
yeah, the midfield. I think he's been playing a kind of free recently. It's been kind of the sitters have been Andrick and who was the other sitter? Tony Cruz
And Christensen.
with Ilkay Gundogan a wee bit further forward with Musiala and Watts either side. So that'll probably be somewhat of it looks like that if Musiala is fit.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
that's a scary thought, isn't it?
yeah, we think
I,
our midfield's good, but that's
I
like
know. And then obviously the forwards, you've got Nicholas Fulkrug, Leroy Sané, Dennis Undav, who Laurie was slating earlier, uh, Chris Fufrich, and Maximilian Bayer. Sorry if there's any Germans who are watching who are screaming at me pronouncing all that wrong. But maybe not the most forwards you look at and go, oh, these guys are brilliant, but a lot of talent in there as well. And definitely, I think they'll finish top of the group. If we can get away with anything against them, I'll be happy.
I think it might not even be any of the forwards the listed forwards that start up front. I think Kai Havertz has got he's probably maybe the standout to start up front. He's obviously played as like a striker or a false nine at Arsenal this season, and he's came into great form at the end of the season. So I
Yep,
think he's definitely the front runner to lead the line.
definitely. Aye. Um, and on to that, on to the first game. Potential lineups we could go with. Um, Ethan, do you want to kick us off? How do you think, or how do you think we should line up against Germany?
How I think we should line up, I think Gunn and goals, obviously, and I think the left side of the fence, Robertson at the left wing back role, Tierney is in the left centre half, hopefully overlapping Robertson, although it won't come as common as maybe it usually does at a tournament where all these games are so tight and difficult. But and then in the other two central defenders, I think I'd probably give an edge to McKenna. Um, he's obviously done quite well since leaving Aberdeen, went to Forest, now had a stint in Denmark with Copenhagen, playing against Man City in the Champions League. I think the right central defender, it could be any of them, and I'd be quite happy, apart from Cooper. But yeah, I think it could be Hendry or it could be Grant Hanley that starts in that other position. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and at right wing back, I think it's got to be Ralston. He could go for the kind of bold approach of James Forrest, but I doubt that's going to happen.
You could go with if not Robbie, Ross McCrory, sorry, as well.
Yeah, he could, but I think he will opt for Ralston because
Mm-hmm.
Ralston's had a few games for Scotland before. I remember this game was 2 years ago now, but against Armenia when he scored, I think his only goal for Scotland. He had
Mm-hmm.
quite an impressive display, but this is Armenia we're talking about, and now we're talking about um, these teams we've mentioned.
Uh-huh.
Um, and in the midfield, I'd go for again. I think there's three sets in midfield. I'd go for Cal McGregor, John McGinn, and Scott McTominay. I think they have to be in the midfield three. And the other one, I think, could go either way. He could go with Ryan Christie just in behind the striker, or he could push maybe McGinn up or McTominay up and bring in Gilmore because Billy Gilmore started the last two games, but obviously McGregor was injured for them. And I think Loris Shanklin, deserves to start up front. I think 30 goals this season. Adams and Dykes aren't coming close to that. Obviously, maybe playing in maybe a slightly more difficult league, but 30 goals you can't snub that. I think he deserves to start
No,
up front.
definitely not. Yeah, I think I've got quite a similar lineup. I'd go with. Um, yeah, I'd have Angus Gunn, Andy Robertson, Kieran Tierney. I think the defence is maybe where we differ a little bit. I'd have Grant Hanley and Jack Hendry in there. Um, I don't know why. I just don't like the idea of having two left-sided defenders and a three at the back. I don't. There's just something weird about that to me. I don't know why. Um, Yeah, so I'd have them two in there. Right wing back, I'd probably have Ralston as well. Midfield picks itself. McGinn, McTominay, McGregor. Um, and then going forward, I'd have a. This is where for me it could differ. I mean, I know this is a bit left field, but I'd probably have Ryan Christie playing off of Lawrence Shankland or James Forrest. I think James
Yep.
Forrest would be very good in that role. And if he can show the form he has been showing, I wouldn't be upset if he started up top but I think Lawrence Shankland has to start. Um, Dykes and Adams just it's weird. Lyndon Dykes, at least he's shown something. I just think Che Adams hasn't shown anything in a Scotland shirt at all. Um, and I don't think he should be starting. I think Lawrence Shankland should be starting. Um, and then even if Shankland doesn't start, it should be Dykes. I think Adams should be anywhere near the starting lineup. And that sounds silly talking about a guy who just got promoted compared to someone who plays in the Scottish Premiership and someone who got relegated, I'm sure, with QPR. But
You might be right.
um, yeah, I just don't think he's very good for Scotland at all. Laurie, what about you? Coming up for this Germany game, how do you think we should line up?
Yeah, I think I'm quite similar to the both of you. So of course we're sticking with Steve Clarke's typical kind of back five, back three. So Angus Gunn between the sticks, of course, that's dead set. Robo left back, left centre half being Tierney. The, the right hand side one is maybe where there could be a bit of a debate. I was tempted. Again, this is very much in a fitness doubt, I suppose, to have John Souttar and then maybe a middle one being Grant Hanley, but is that a risk? On both counts, in fairness.
I wouldn't have John Souther. I think he's too prone to a massive blunder or doing something stupid. He commits himself way too quickly and way too easily. Like a lot of the silly goals we've lost Rangers this season has come from John Souttar going to ground when he
Right,
doesn't have to go to ground, like at all. He likes throwing himself about the place, and I think that's his downfall a lot of the time.
yeah, we don't. So we don't need that. So on advice of my assistant manager here in the dugout, shall
Yeah.
I ma- shall I maybe maybe switch this round.
Well, it's your lineup, so you can
Uh,
do what you like with it.
no, but maybe I should switch it around. That's a good point. I don't really want players who do that. But you know what? Do, do I give it to Scott McKenna? I was never a massive Scott McKenna fan. However, one thing in Scott McKenna's defence, and maybe it's something to look up on YouTube, is for a centre half, he's actually got a pretty good shot on him. And
Mm,
he's scored a couple of crackers against my team, Kilmarnock. So if we need a little, left field goal movement, set piece or something, could Scott McKenna come up front? Give it to Scott McKenna then, right? As your,
hmm
your right centre half.
You'd have
Mid,
Scott
mid,
McKenna at right centre half.
I'm tempted to because the
Isn't he
left
left
hand.
footed?
He may well be, but the left-sided ones are, well, Orange and Tierney aren't great as discussed. Um,
Oh, who, who is it? So Scott McKenna's left footed, I'm sure. Liam Cooper. Oof.
He's left
who,
footed.
who I'm not starting, so uh,
Um, is that it? Is that the only left-sided centre halves we have?
Let me
uh,
see.
um,
Yeah, they
oh,
three.
forget that. I have an absolute brain fart, and I should not have been having this brain fart having been open goal on Friday night. Who are we going to shove in at right centre half? Everyone's probably screaming this. And this person maybe has the same problem as Suso, arguably, but he doesn't seem to show it in a Scotland shirt too much. Ryan Porteous. How did I forget about him?
Oh,
Um,
yes.
maybe.
Right, I'll put Porteous in there for now, but I'm not totally settled on it. Right, Ryan Porteous, and that's my final answer. Um, on that one, the midfield, it kind of does.
Who'd you have it
Do
right
this.
back?
Oh, right back, Anthony Ralston, reluctantly. Um, the
So
midfield
depressing.
was kind of usual. McGregor sitting there doing what McGregor does, and then you've got McGinn and McTominay, and I must admit, I do. Maybe as the Ayrshire on the pod, I don't know, but I do feel bad for Billy Gilmore. But the midfield's that strong, he just can't get in from the
Yeah,
start. So,
definitely.
and then what would you do? Does Ryan Christie start? Does James Forrest start?
I think
You know
Christie's
what?
got the better shout.
Let's go Ryan Christie. He and his Bournemouth team have done rather well this season, and I mean and up top, I feel like I forgot player now, but up top on form. I would say it's got to be Lauren Shankland. I don't see Clark starting him, to be honest, lads. But I think he'll go
Yeah, I don't
Dykes,
think he'll
Adams.
start either, but it's so stupid if he doesn't. Because, I think, well, there's a guy in our college class, who will remain nameless, who wrote him off after those two friendly games. And he's terrible. I don't want him. And I think that's so silly. Um,
Yeah,
I think he's the best finisher out of the three as well.
100%.
So, and I agree with you. I don't think he'll start, but he should start definitely.
I think the one who Steve Clark will start, and I think we'll hate this. I think the one he will start is Shea Adams. And I think your reaction there, Alex, says it all. Um,
He's just
Do you think?
terrible. He
the
doesn't.
only right,
He doesn't bring anything.
Do you
only
think
time
there's
I
a scenario? So go on, you go, Larry.
The only time I remember him doing anything in a Scotland shirt, but I might be forgetting something here, I don't know, was within the game against Denmark where he scored.
Yeah, yeah.
That's that's the only
Yeah,
thing I
Um,
remember him doing of any note
I
whatsoever.
think he scored against Moldova or something as well.
Wow.
um, what was I going to say there? Do you think there's a scenario where he starts Dykes up top and then maybe starts Adams or Shankland off of Dykes?
I
Do you
don't
think?
see
You
that.
don't think so?
I think you need someone who has a bit of technical ability and running power. I don't think any of those three strikers have that really.
Yeah,
Say the most technical out of the three of them is Shankland. He can fashion a chance out of nothing.
Yeah.
But
And
they're all, I'd say, link up strikers. I think they need
yeah,
someone running off of them. So I'd have definitely a Forrest or Christie next to whoever it may be.
yeah. I mean, running wise, you could argue Shea Adams probably the strongest, and that's saying something. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, but aye, some interesting stuff there. I think we've come to the conclusion: goalkeeper guaranteed, defenders interchangeable, midfield is a lock, and you could try different things with the attack, but it'll probably be Adams and Christie or Dykes and Christie. Um, at the end of the day, I think that's Clark will probably go with that. But I think that'll wrap it up for the second episode of the Dugout. I think it was a long one, but it was a good one. A lot of points covered there about the weekend, and obviously the Scotland squad. Thank you so much for coming on, lads. It's been a pleasure talking to you about this stuff as usual.
thank
likewise,
you.
Alex. Been the first one, yeah.
And yeah, thank you all so much for watching and listening. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.